Okay, this next logo is for a company called Enigma, and it's coming from Deanna Dunford. Thanks for sending that through. And it came with a little note as well. This is a logo for a fictional scientific corporation. It focuses on scientific research and finding solutions to questions, hence the name, slogan, and the question mark. Apologies as it's all one image. I'm new to logo design, so I don't know how to make each part of the design its own layer. Love your channel and love your videos. Thank you. No, thank you for sending this in, and thanks for the kind message. Right, let's get into this. Cool, okay, so at first, before I read the message, to be honest, I didn't actually see the question mark in there. I kind of just thought it was some sort of line that was some sort of like scientific meaning, that had some sort of scientific meaning. But then obviously once you've seen it, you can't unsee it, which is it's a good idea, and you're using the negative space with the dot from the A as like the point there. The only thing I think with it is that maybe the colour here is a little bit too strong, so it kind of clashes with the black, kind of makes it a little bit harder to read and just generally kind of distracts the text a little bit. Another thing that I have noticed is good is the way that you've kind of made it align with this G here, so the like it kind of goes perfectly through that point. I think that's nice, and I do like the little blue dot inside the A as well. I think that's another nice touch. So some bits that I would change if we was going to keep it exactly to this concept. I'm not going to redraw everything, I'm just going to make a few little adjustments here. What I would say is I would like to see a little bit more like alignment, so maybe use the end of the A here as the finishing point for these like these little sentences here. And as well as that, I think I'd like to see just a little bit more space here, as it looks a little bit cramped when there's kind of no need for it to be, because the logo's kind of footprint goes right down to here. So there's no need to sort of cramp that right up into these letters. We've got a lot of room to play with here. So I'm just going to put a white box over this just for the sake of like this version, because I don't want to have to redraw everything. And then we will put our clipping masked version back in. So what I might do is just take that from that top point and drag that down just so our points align, and then I might use this side of the M as well just to shrink this in. Kind of being careful that we don't make the text too small. I feel like that's a much neater way of doing it. Yeah, and then I think the other thing I would do is just adjust this so that the blue is a little bit lighter. I don't know if I can do that in Illustrator, so let's open this in Photoshop and see how we go. While we're waiting for Photoshop to open, I think it's time to probably stop this thirsty work for a second. Bit of spillage, but it's all good, and that was perfect timing. Now Photoshop's open, so what I'm going to do is save as and just put this in there as lighter blue. Boom. I wouldn't normally do it like this if I had the vector paths, but I haven't got the vector paths, so I'm just sort of bodging it. What's my best bet here? Probably go into levels. Selective colour, should be able to do this. Whip some of that cyan out just because I don't want to make it particularly more cyan-y looking, I just want to make it lighter. I think that takes away some of the distraction like around here. And what I might also do, let's just use that one for now. Align them two, and then cut that one, delete the background one, paste in place, Command F, center back, and there we go. We've still got our letter from earlier, our nice letters from earlier is what I'm trying to say. Cool, I think that's looking quite a bit clearer now. The text is not being like intruded on with the blue there. And I've actually got another idea for this logo, so I feel like that's a good development on that one. And I've got another idea that I just want to have a little play with now. I've drawn it out again on the sketch pad, and I'll just show you what I'm going on about. basically, obviously the first letter of the word enigma is an E, and then like the key sort of concept behind it is the question mark. If I zoom in on here, I've kind of drawn out this rough idea where it's kind of a question mark that goes into an E, and then we use the point as kind of a break, but then we still have the tail of the E. So I feel like we could make this work. And then I'm also going to look at just a different text layout for this side, which is basically just comes down to personal preference really. There's nothing really wrong with your text layout apart from maybe a little bit of spacing and alignment issues, but I'm just going to look at kind of a different direction because I think it would be fun and look quite cool. So let's get into this. So as always, I'm going to pull up the grid, put on snap to grid, so Command Shift and apostrophe or speech marks or whatever they are called. And let's get down to making this icon. So I'm feeling like we'll keep this nice and simple. Choose a fine blue. 25 point, no, let's do something that matches perfectly with the actual grid. So I think it's 18 on my setup. Pen tool, so I deleted that part from the circle and I'm just using the pen tool and to continue that line. Something like that. I'm just going to make a little circle that's the same thickness as the line, and then probably chuck a white stroke on that just to sort of give that gap that we want, and then probably just going to put either 18. It's probably a little bit much, but let's play it out and see how we go. And now I'm wishing that I didn't delete that section of line on the circle because I need to bring it back, but that's okay. I just copy it from the left hand side and then send that to the back. Oh no, let's get it aligned first and then send it to the back so we got our space around there. So in the drawing, if I just show you again, kind of got the tail sweeping off there as if to kind of give it some like depth, almost as if like the tail is not just tapering to nothing but it's kind of disappearing sort of behind the dot. I hope you can see what I'm on about there. So it's like just like sweeping off into the background. So let's try and replicate that on screen. Just going to try doing this by using the essentially stroke width tool, but I don't think I need to use that. I think I can just use this profile thing here. And that's obviously gone the wrong way around, so I can flip that. And I think that's good. I think this white stroke around here is a little bit too fat, so I'm just going to half that and pull that down just so it looks like it's being affected by the circle there. But I just want this stroke width at that point to be 18 because it's at the moment it's kind of, if I just pull that out to show you what's going on, it's its fattest point there, but that's hidden, so I want its fattest point to be there. So stroke width tool, should just be able to click that. I don't know if I can double click that and just make it total width and then say 18 point. I'm going to try another variant where we take that, dupe it round and basically let the stroke go a little bit higher. So that one is at that point there. I'm going to take it like more up here because we kind of lose so much weight where the stroke tapers down. We lose so much weight at the thinner stages that I feel like it just needs a little bit more. Right, okay. Cut that, get rid of that, paste that, send it to the back, flip the profile, width tool, click where we want it to be fat, 18 point. And notice as well, I'll just mention this, I'll cancel that, when I double click that, right, that says millimeters, but you can put whatever you want in there. You can say point, so obviously I want it to match this stroke weight here, so instead of trying to work it out to millimeters, I can just press 18 and then put PT, and if I just press tab instead of enter, you can see that it just translates that into millimeters for me, which is lovely. And then I'm just going to do a little bit more development on this, just trying to get it looking like this flows nicely, because at the moment that looks a little bit hideous. So what I'm going to try and do is tuck it sort of up there. Kind of not seeing the E so much now. Okay, so I think it's out of these two. I'm just going to try a fatter version. Press X to swap them two around before I press on the swatch. If I press X, it like flicks between them. Saves you a lot of time going from left to right. And now I'm thinking that this line looks a little bit too thick. So Enigma, just going to use the same or similar font to what you've used. And I just feel like to give it that sciencey, techie look, I'm going to want that text in big caps. I'm going to spread it out. And the reason for that is the strap line is quite long. So I want to make sure that the strapline text is always like big enough to be read. So there you are, this is looking quite good already. I think balance that icon out a little bit. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is the wider that text is, the larger we can have life has questions, we have answers, because you've kind of got more width to fit it in. Cool, and you can see that although I've made that text 1/4 of the size, I've actually now got room to scale that up because this text is sort of like tracked out a little bit. Okay then, so for Enigma, this is the original logo on the left hand side here. For option 1 on this one, I just wound back the colour, like faded the colour of the blue a little bit so it wasn't quite so intrusive on the letters. I scaled down the size of life has questions, we have answers, and just repositioned that so there was sort of like spacing and alignment issues that are now addressed on this version here. And then also I made this complete new version with this new icon that combines an E with a question mark instead of using the question mark like behind the text, and I remade the text using a similar font, or it might even be the same font, and this has been adjusted, I'm not sure, but just made something a little bit different that's very clear, very easy to read. And if there is a benefit to it at all, it would be that this text here is probably bigger than this version here, so it's good for scaling. And if you ever need like a profile picture on like a Facebook or a YouTube like profile picture sort of icon, this one is a lot easier to sort of take the icon from it, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this, so I just thought that could work. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for sending your logo in, Deanna. Okay, so sorry if I butcher the name here, but I've done a bit of Googling, and although it looks to me like the name is D-O-R-D-E, I think it's actually pronounced as George, but sorry if that's wrong. George has sent through a few logos and said, I saw your post on YouTube and decided to share some of my work with you, PDFs attached. A couple of the designs have Serbian Cyrillic in them, just so you know, so you don't find yourself confused. Hope you redesign one of these. And then I had a look at these and I just thought they were really nice and didn't really need anything doing to them anyway. If I just show you the files here, personal signum, I'm not sure what this symbol is, but obviously that's a nice looking logo. And then the next one is probably even better. Obviously I don't know what that says, but it says agricultural household, so there's some sort of chicken icon here mixed with some nice text that's like, it just looks interesting. This one, Attractivo Futsal, just looks really cool. Again, nice simple icon, nice little bit of curved text here, all perfectly spaced. All the line thicknesses look perfect, all the spacing is neat and tidy, and I just generally think that looks really good. And then this one is probably my favourite, BRKA and Brada Gymwear. It looks super tight, super clean, nice mix of font styles here for the ampersand. I don't know whether this is custom built or from another font, but either way it takes skill to sort of make them look good together and sort of match them up, and I think that's done really nicely. And you've got that nice word gymwear down there in a font that sort of complements. So yeah, I think that's really cool. And there's actually another page on this PDF as well, which is just showing like the icon. And again, that works really well. You can see that sort of slab serif ampersand, how that works with the sans serif B and B. yeah, I think that's really cool, and there's not really anything I'd do to them, but thanks for sending them through. I think they look really good. Okay, so this next logo has come in from Raphael, and the message said, this was my first logo in Illustrator. It's for my company, it designs logos, and I wanted to see what you could add to this and put your own style on it. Okay then, so let's open that up. So this is cool. You can see, I guess the company is just called Logos, which is, I guess, good because customers are not going to be confused about what you're selling. And you can see here we've got some kind of, is this slab serif? Yeah, slab serif text. So that font is Literata Regular, which is one I hadn't heard of, but I downloaded it from Google Fonts. And then if you look at the icon, you can see that there's an L in here that looks like it's kind of made out of circles, kind of cutting into another circle, which is quite a cool idea. And then there's a secondary color down here, so I'll use this one for now to work on. Okay, so my main sort of points that I would immediately jump on with this logo is the balance of the size between the icon and the text. I feel like the icon is way too big compared to the text. So first thing I'm going to do is just take this and scale it down to the height of the text, and then in here I'm just going to go times 1.5. I feel like that might be a more comfortable proportion, but now that feels a little bit small actually, so I'm just going to go from the right hand side and scale that up. So I'm going to do times 1.2. I feel like that might be a more eye-pleasing proportion. And then also another thing I've done sort of while I was doing that is just increase the gap here. I might do it another couple of knocks just because you see that is very, very tight. And then another thing I am going to do, but this won't be to everyone's taste, is track in this text a little bit, just because it feels like there's so much space between these letters that it just kind of, I don't know, it's almost like your eyes get lost reading it. And then I'm going to, so that when everything was selected and I pressed Alt and left and right arrows, that's doing the tracking, which you can see down here. And then for the like more finer adjustments, I can click between them, and that will do the kerning, which is in this little bad boy. So I might knock that one in a little bit, knock that one in a little bit, knock the full stop in just quite a lot closer. I'm gonna go really really tight, just because that's how I generally like it, although that looks one notch too tight now. And the different shapes create different sort of like patterns in the negative space, so you kind of just have to do it on a case-by-case basis, and kind of one of them things where the more you do it, the better you get at it, or the quicker you can do it, quicker you can get something you're happy with. And then the next thing that I'm thinking of changing is the actual icon itself. I like the concept of this, where it's like circles biting into another circle to kind of create the negative space L. But I don't like how this bit is so much fatter than this bit, and then these points aren't all kind of like equal. Like this one looks like it's miles away, this one looks a little bit closer to sort of like the meaty area. So what I'm going to do is create something hopefully that's cleaner using the grid, and then we'll just take it from there. Okay, I'm going to do something a little bit weird here, and I'm going to get my layers palette and make another layer on top that's going to essentially be a mask. So I'm going to take that circle, I'm going to turn, no I'm not, on this layer I'm just going to put a big blob of colour just so I can see what's going on in my next layer. So I'm going to paste that in the top layer, lock that bottom layer, then I'm going to make a big rectangle, and I'm just going to fill that in as white because I just want this to be a mask so that I can position the black circles underneath and it will like be hidden in around the circle. It will make sense in a minute. And now from here I just want to cut this out because I want to keep this mask area. So I'm just going to press Shift and M for the shape builder tool, press Alt and click there, and now you can see that through there. So I'm going to lock that, unlock that, get rid of that hideous grain, and now when I draw any black shapes in here, it's hidden, which is cool. And I mean, you wouldn't use that for final artwork, but because of what I'm trying to achieve here, I need to do it like this, just as it's like the quickest way of visualizing what we want. Okay, now it hasn't made quite the same shape, but I think that shape there is like the problem shape, because it means that it's causing trouble, but like causing trouble for the overall thicknesses. But I do feel like I will be able to make it work, so let's just try something again. I mean, I don't really know the kind of logos that Raphael does, so it's kind of hard to know the style, but from this, I think this looks similar. I'm just going to put the original and my one up together to make sure I haven't completely lost like the essence of the logo. And I think I have, and I think that's partly down to the fact that this is not rotated. So I'm going to just do it like 15. Let's go 20. Just to keep that little bit of sort of fun look to it. There's something really jarring me about the shapes here, but I don't want to completely change the concept in this option. I want to try and keep some sort of the original style of the logo, so I feel like this is going in the right direction. So I think now that looks pretty good. I think we have adjusted the icon size in the right direction, so it kind of sits nicely next to the text rather than looking like it's absolutely massive, like a giant next to the text. We've tightened up the text as well, and we have adjusted the space in between the icon and the text. We've done a bit of custom kerning between the letters just to get it looking like it's flowing really nicely, and we've kept the like essence of the original logo by using this sort of like bite marks out of a negative shape of an L. We've kind of kept some of the character of that while being a little bit more like wild with the design as well. One more thing I might do, which is something that I do for the Rebrand Everything branding as well, is just literally make that red just as like a little kick, and maybe make that red as well. But I mean, there's no reason you can't use both of these logos in both of these colors, like across this branding, just depending on the application, see what works best at the time. And just because I'm not entirely sure about this L, I'm just gonna try and satisfy my curiosity by reversing these out as well, as sometimes that can just make it look really like different and sometimes looks really nice. I'm just going to do the same with red as well. So this is like the thing, it's like, what decision do you make when you're reversing it out of a color? I like to just make it white and red, because I think that is how a like single color logo normally works. And another place that this logo might sit is like on top of a photo, and I don't like to put too many colors on, so I think if you're going to reverse out a logo, most of the time just use completely white for all of it. But that's just my preference, and some logos, if they've got like a light color in there as well, sometimes they keep the like light color as well as the white. But ultimately it just comes down to personal preference, and just hope that the designer who sort of takes the logo on just sort of makes awarenesses for, is it still readable on the background color, is it still readable on the background picture, do you need to put some sort of like shading on the picture so that you can see it. Okay then, so yeah, the original is on the left here, and as you can see, I've addressed the spacing issues in the text, the space issue here between the icon and the text. The actual size of the icon just looked absolutely massive compared to the text, so I've addressed that. And then I've shown it over here as two different versions, one that's just black and white, one that uses the secondary color red as well, because that was included in the original file. And also, because I wasn't entirely sure about the design, I just tried them out on some like reversed out of the brand colours as well, and I think that if anything they actually look better, so I think that works quite well. Let me know what you think on the poll up there. Did I make it better or worse? Just let me know, and yeah, let me know what you would have done in the comments. Thank you for sending this in, Raphael.